another episode of Zone Coverage. I'm Cody Schoeler here with Ryan Root, as always, ready to talk about some NFL action. And we're not just talking about any NFL action. We are talking about, I think, almost inarguably, the best weekend of football, especially NFL, especially playoffs that, I've ever seen. I don't know, going back into the 90s, obviously, before we were born. I can't vouch for that. But to have 4 games, each one better than the last, each one decided on the last play of the game. That's something that doesn't happen a lot. That's something incredible. And I thought really hard about where to even start, where to, begin talking about all this stuff. If you told me on Saturday night that the Packers losing to the Niners wasn't even going to be one of the 3 most talked about things on Sunday, I would have been surprised. But honestly, I think we got to work in reverse order and go. I think that's, the order of importance there, and start with the game that ended it all. And like I said, each game got better and better. This game was the best of the weekend. It's certainly one of the best of a very long time with those stakes.
Yeah, I don't know if it was a long day of work yesterday or the NFL divisional round that made me so dead tired by the end of the day. I'd like to think it was this entire weekend of football.
Yeah.
Because, it was just every single game. I remember we were talking last Monday about this Bills-Chiefs game, and we were thinking, we would love to have, one of those big thrillers between 2 great teams like the Rams-Chiefs did a few years ago on Monday Night Football in the regular season. That was just a regular season game. And we basically got that, but in a playoff game, and probably one of the greatest games I've ever witnessed. I think the best game that I've ever watched, as also a Seahawks fan my whole life, was the 2015 NFC Championship game, because the Packers just absolutely fell apart after halftime there. But this definitely has a case to be number one. And there's so many different things that you could talk about with this game. Obviously, the biggest thing about this game is just Patrick Mahomes versus Josh Allen. We were saying it last Monday that this could be a rivalry for the next decade.
It's Brady Manning.
Yeah, this is the next version of Brady Manning. This is Brady Manning 2.0. These 2 quarterbacks are so similar in play style, and we could try to break down the game as much as we can, but obviously it's the last 2 minutes that everybody was freaking out about. But leading up to those last 2 minutes, the opening drive by Buffalo, they were slow and methodical. They went for it on 4th down twice, one at midfield, one on the goal line. They put up 7. I was like, okay, this is a different Buffalo team from last year's AFC Championship game, because one of the biggest, weaknesses they had on that team last year was they couldn't run the ball. Buffalo ran the ball this game. It was not only Devin Singletary that was running the ball, but Josh Allen led the team in rushing. I don't remember how many. Let's see how many rushing yards he had. Both him and Patrick Mahomes led the team in rushing.
Yeah. Josh Allen has the 2nd most rushing yards in the playoffs now. So, obviously he's done, but he unleashes himself in that frame in the playoffs, and that's what makes them scary.
And these 2 teams just kept answering back and forth in the first half, and it was 14-14 at halftime off of a missed field goal from Butker.
We saw something that we haven't seen in a while, and we saw Buffalo's punter. That was a big.
That was another thing, and I bet you they were still kind of kicking themselves, like when they reached that 4th down on the next drive. I bet you they were still like, there's something that we could do to probably go for it. Spoiler alert: the Bills converted on every single 4th down that they tried to convert on, and halftime being 14-14, I was like, this is going to be a chess match of sorts. It's just going to be who slips up first. Is it going to come down to whoever has the ball last? It kind of did, but it kind of did it in regulation, that is. So, if for those who haven't watched this game, which I don't know if you were, on a wilderness kind of expedition where you're not having electricity near you or not having any of your electronics, you should have been watching this game whether you're a sports fan or not.
Yeah.
And I mean, the last 2 minutes of this game have to go down as some of the most hectic final
for sure
of any football game I've ever seen. First, the Bills answer. They get the lead with a little over a minute and a half left. Then the Chiefs answer. They score with a minute left in the game.
They score in 52 seconds, yeah.
And then the Bills come up the field. They score, leave 13 seconds left on the clock, and they're up by a field goal. And I'm at work watching the game on my phone, and my mom is calling me. She's like, "Oh my God, the Bills are about to do it." I said, "Mom, the game is not over," is what I literally texted. I didn't pick up the phone. I just said, "Mom, the game's not over. Relax." And then the Chiefs, off of a touchback starting on the 25-yard line, get goal range in 10 seconds.
Yeah, let's talk about – I mean, I was expecting you to come in a little fired up as a Bills fan, maybe talking about – because I think we can agree, and we don't need to talk about NFL overtime rules. That's going to get really played out. They suck. We know that. It sucks to see –
You bringing that up.
It sucks to see one team not get the ball.
I used to be in favor of NFL overtime rules. I used to think that they were the preferred way to do it. If you score on the opening drive, you had your chance throughout regulation. You didn't get it done. But after the game that we watched, and after seeing each quarterback just answer each other, you didn't know who the better team was. That's the thing. Like going into overtime, 95% of the time, you know that you know what team is better going in. Yeah. You know what team is likely going to win. You know what team is, just needs to put the nail in the coffin, and one team is just desperately trying to win the game. I would argue most of the time you know that going into overtime. Going into overtime yesterday, who was the better team? They kept answering back and forth, and I have now officially switched sides. I think, obviously, NFL should alter the overtime rules to either something at the bare minimum is if they score a touchdown on the opening drive, have them score a touchdown on the opening drive. And then after that, field goal wins. Simple as that. Simple addition. But like you said, we could go on. We
got a lot to talk about. But so, I mean, this happened 3 years ago to the Chiefs. The 1 year so far that Mahomes hasn't made the Super Bowl. They lose the coin toss. Brady goes down. Mahomes never touches the field. So, this happened before. We had a conversation then. But the one thing, I'm not the proponent of, well, Buffalo had a chance. Stop them with your defense, because nobody's stopping anybody with their defense in this.
I understand what people mean when they say that, but it's not.
Some games you can see it, but this game, I mean, come on. Whoever won the coin toss was going to score. It was plain and simple. But what I will say is the reason I have just a little bit of, not as much sympathy for the Bills in this is just 13 seconds, play better. First, just so many weird things. First off, not kicking a squib kick, just booting it out of the end zone, giving them the full 13 seconds. And then, the Tyreek Hill thing, sure, you gave yards or whatever. But the Travis Kelce thing just made no sense. They had timeouts. You had to guard them. Obviously, it's, not the easiest thing of all time to stop. But my thing is, you had 13 seconds and you let them go, however, I don't even know how many yards it went, 50-something yards. You had an opportunity, not in overtime, I would say, but in regulation to at least do something. I still think both of these teams, I mean, if the Bills win the coin toss, they win. As simple as that. It does suck to see it come down to that. But the Bills had a more legitimate chance to put this game away than a lot of other teams do when it comes down to, losing in overtime. So, that's what, the Bills had a very, very good chance to end this. And they, let Patrick Mahomes throw it to Hill and throw it to Kelce right up the seam. And did you see the stat that their game-winning or game-tying drive to get less time than the Dak Prescott run?
That's brilliant. And
obviously, Kansas
City is not getting the head coaching job anytime.
Kansas City had timeouts, so it changes. But still, I just think that's funny. Where it's look at what you can do if you play smart. This is, like we said, this is Brady Manning, and I think like Brady Manning, there's one guy who just beats the other guy majority of the time. That's Patrick Mahomes right now. He is a Brady to Josh Allen's Manning, and because I'm reading the book about Tom Brady and the Patriots right now. And, for a while, he beats Manning damn near every time. We remember the times that Manning got the better of him, getting to a Super Bowl here and there. And, it's kind of like, we can relate as WSU fans. When you're the little brother in the rivalry, when you win the 1 out of every 5 or 6 or whatever, it feels so good. But at the end of the day, the other guy's winning more and more. And I feel like, eventually Josh Allen will beat Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Like, it's just going to happen. But if it happens, next year, everybody's going to go crazy. But, Mahomes had already done it. I just think, we could see something shift. These guys are so young, 26 and 25 years old, respectively. But right now, Mahomes is just dominating the league and dominating that rivalry. And, and it's not Josh Allen's fault at all, obviously. But yeah, it was, an incredible game, incredible ending in a great way. Just so fun.
If you're looking at the history of the NFL, their whole story going era by era, you had Montana, you had Steve Young, you had Marino that never won a ring, you had Manning, you had Brady, throw Roethlisberger in there, Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers. Now you got Patrick Mahomes, who we can, I think, literally after this game, we already knew it going in, but Patrick Mahomes is still the best quarterback in football. The MVP award does not award the best player in football. It awards the person who had the best season. So that is why Aaron Rodgers.
It's not even going to do that. It's not even going to do that because Cooper Kupp should get it. But
sure,
I digress.
The MVP award, it's not like in basketball where, most of the time the MVP award is going to arguably the best player in the league outside of LeBron James or something like that.
But yeah, the thing is Mahomes is hitting that level that Brady hit. You could give
he only
Brady
has one MVP, but he's been to 4 straight AFC championship games. I don't think you can't just sit there and be like, oh, well, he only has one MVP. It's like, yeah, so does Lamar Jackson. Is he supposed to be the best quarterback in the league? Point being is Patrick Mahomes, when the game is on the friggin' line and they're playing in Arrowhead Stadium, I don't know what team could necessarily stop these guys coming up the field. We'll talk about the other games here real quick, but just final thoughts about this. Patrick Mahomes was the next guy coming up to Brady. Brady beats him last year in the Super Bowl. He's the only quarterback to have beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. So with Brady, at some point will retire at some point.
And even with that, Brady and the Bucks beat the rest of the Chiefs. Mahomes still played incredible. None of this. He is yet to have a playoff game that the loss falls on his shoulders. This is the thing too. He has not disappointed in the playoffs in his career yet. That's the craziest part. So
with Tom Brady eventually retiring, Aaron Rodgers eventually retiring, who was going to be that guy to compete with Patrick Mahomes year in, year out? It is Josh Allen. They've met in the playoffs back-to-back years. They had a great game earlier in the regular season this year. These two teams, I think the NFL should just make a rule right now. Have these two teams play in the regular season every single year because it's just going to be ratings galore for the NFL. But this is a rivalry that we have to watch for.
Let's do some conference adjusting, get one of them over to the NFC so we can see this matchup in the Super Bowl every year for the next 10 years without that. But the thing is, there's other young quarterback talent in the AFC. The NFC, not necessarily as much. We'll talk about Joe Burrow later, but Joe Burrow can be in that conversation. Lamar Jackson certainly, can be in that conversation. The AFC is going to be, Justin Herbert is going to be in that conversation. The AFC is going to have incredible quarterback battles going forward. Mahomes, it's hard to pinpoint his best performances here and there. Obviously, his MVP season was insane. This season, in terms of what he overcame, might be even better, but his game yesterday was just incredible. Josh Allen and him both ran, but it was different. Josh Allen designed runs, he steps up, he scrambles, he's scrambling to run, sometimes he'll pass. Mahomes was juking people out in the backfield. He was getting pressured and somehow escaping like literally a magician. I saw a tweet. I forget who it's from, where it's Patrick Mahomes is better at throwing, rolling to his left than any left-handed quarterback ever. Like, it is insane. What he can do is crazy. I mean, he's the best drop back passer in the game, and now he can, gets 40 yards on the first drive, gets a rushing touchdown. I mean, he is insane. There's nothing you can do to stop him. And then when he's throwing to Tyreek Hill, who can catch the ball anywhere on the field and just run through and past everybody, and Travis Kelce, who's one of the best tight ends ever. I mean, it's scary what that team is, and and Josh Allen is right there with him. He, we wanted to see if last year was a fluke. Last year was not a fluke. Josh Allen's a top 5 quarterback right now. And it's not.
You could argue debatable. Top 3 at this point after the game we just watched.
I mean, it's tough when you get up there because where do you put Brady? Where do you put Rodgers? Guys that have done it for 15 years. But I mean, if you're given, I would probably take him second right now if I was building a team, whether it's for this year or for the future, and that's insane.
It's going to be interesting to me to try to see the arc of Patrick Mahomes' career since being at Texas Tech, because Patrick Mahomes is a first-round quarterback in the draft, don't get me wrong, but Patrick Mahomes didn't have necessarily the same amount of hype that Trevor Lawrence did, that
both of
Jackson did, and he wasn't.
Both of those guys had quarterbacks drafted ahead of them that are nowhere near their level.
I mean, if you look at Texas Tech fans back in the day where Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback and say, this guy's going to be the best quarterback in the league and arguably one of the best quarterbacks to ever do it by the end of his career, right? And they're going to be like, oh, well, yeah, he's really good. I think he's going to do really well. And they're like, no, he's ridiculous.
He's going to be the best for a decade. He's going to make $500 million.
Just tell him that he's going to make $500 million and he'd be like, wow, really? And be like, no, I'm serious. He'll probably make $1 billion
but he's
in his career.
It's so Texas Tech's going to win the Big 12, right? No,
not at all. That's Oklahoma right
That's
there.
a funny thing. Let's move on to the game that happened right before that for about an hour and a half maybe was the best game of the weekend and would have been the best game of almost any other football weekend. It was I hit a point. This is Rams-Bucks. Rams got the win. There's so many things to talk about in this one again. I had a point where I almost was going to hate football if Tom Brady and the Buccaneers won this matchup, because the Rams literally fumbled it away, snapped the ball straight past Matt Stafford away. I don't remember every detail of the Falcons' collapse, but to me this seemed worse because this wasn't one team necessarily playing better than the other. This wasn't, the Falcons got there by kind of, making mistakes and doing. This was the Rams literally dropping the ball multiple times. It was insane. And I mean, we hit the point. Tom Brady came back, and I have some reservations about that. What I was really not looking forward to was, oh my God, the greatest comeback ever by Tom Brady. Tom Brady threw one very good touchdown to Mike Evans, and then he led 2 30-yard drives that were capped off by Leonard Fournette rushing touchdowns. So this was not a Tom Brady orchestrated touchdown. He was not driving his team down the field. But I was ready for everybody to lose their mind about Tom Brady again. And I think he played a bad game all around. We can talk about that in a bit. But they tie it up. I forget how much time was left. There was, less than a minute. 40-something seconds. It was 40 or 30 seconds like that. Yeah. Matt Stafford, who, let's give a little.
There was 42 seconds.
42 seconds. Matt Stafford, let's give you a little Matt Stafford primer here. He played a lot of time in Detroit, so if you don't remember much about him, that's fair. Matt Stafford just won his first playoff game last week, but since he's been in the NFL, he has been one of the best fourth quarter game-winning drive quarterbacks that there is. I don't remember the numbers. It seems like every quarterback has the most game-winning drive since he's entered the league, wherever the year starts. Mahomes, since him, whatever. But Stafford does it really well. We remember the fake spike where he just dove over the line. Stafford gets it done.
he won a game with a dislocated elbow or something like that. I mean, in the middle of the drive, he's just like, no, I'm good. I can play. And he just powers through the final throw for a touchdown. He wins the game.
Like he's not Mahomes or Allen, but you can feel confident with Stafford the end of the game. I believe first play, feels some pressure, escapes up in the pocket, maybe gets a yard or two. They call a timeout.
Well, first play he got sacked by.
Okay, that's what I say. He
got sacked and he fumbled the ball at the last second.
Yeah, he did.
And just kind of scooped it.
Yeah.
Like, nope, we're not.
He stepped up. He stepped up like to run after the pocket collapsed, and he did get sacked. I remember it wasn't a lot. And this was. I think he would have been down if they really looked at his fumble, but he got it back. Then get a nice completion to Cooper Kupp, get some yards back. We're thinking, all right, you're doing something here. Then, and Tampa Bay deserves a lot of whatever the opposite of credit is for this. They run a corner blitz. They're one-on-one with Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp runs straight down the field. Matt Stafford, while getting hit, throws a beautiful ball, hits Kupp in stride. He gets tackled. Matt Stafford, I forget what yard line they're on.
They caught the ball.
I see there at the 30 or something, 20 maybe.
It was actually the 12-yard line.
Holy damn, they got it all the way down to 12. So there, he's sprinted back up the line. Get the spike. That
it totally reminded me of the NFL films where he's like, spike it.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Stafford.
Literally what he was doing.
Matt Stafford running up to the line, making the spiking motion is a very familiar image. Yeah. They spike it, they kick the field goal, they win. It was insane. I mean, a lot of thoughts went through my head. I'm talking back and forth with my friends. We've got one Brady lover that we're giving, a bunch of shit to, and he's freaking out. But I just remember something that we talked about earlier because, if they lost this game, that's as far as they got with Jared Goff last year. They're all in to win, a lot. They don't win this game with Jared Goff. They don't make that last drive with Jared Goff. Like Matt Stafford, all of the warts he's had this year, all of the mistakes and all this stuff at the he played incredible this game. He got them that last drive. And the Rams, although they tried their best to lose that game, they won. They beat Brady. They're now going to host the next game. And, I mean, it was incredible. And, I mean, the Rams, they persevered. They got it done. But so many things went wrong.
Two things stick out to me about this last drive. I mean, once they get the touchback and they have the ball in their own 25 with 42 seconds left, I mean, I'm sitting there watching the game. I'm like, man, Brady tied the game up. Okay, let's kneel this. Let's go to overtime. That was my first thought. I'm like, okay, let's go to overtime. Let's figure this out. Maybe a coin flip will figure it out. Who knows? And then they call a play. And I'm like, okay, like, are you really trying to risk throwing an interception after the collapse you've had this second half?
A fumble, which turned out to be
on the first play, he fumbles it. Where I don't know if
guess what?
Fumble, but
yeah. Because guess what? The last drive, Cam Akers was on his way to a first down. We're going to need one more to ice the game, and he freaking fumbled it. So they were in a situation where they were very close.
They still wanted to roll the dice is the thing. And then all of a sudden, 4 seconds left in the game, they're now on the 12-yard line, spiking the ball to get the game-winning field goal. So the first thing that stuck out to me is that Sean McVay, I think, other than Bill Belichick being still the best coach in football, because coaches don't necessarily have, primes necessarily like players do. You know the game. I mean, sure, Pete Carroll won Super Bowls.
You have better years with your
better
personnel.
Yes. So coaches still know what they're doing at the end of the day, at the end of their career. So other than Belichick being the greatest coach ever, we'll exclude him. I think Sean McVay is number 2 for this because
right now, probably.
He just showed the bucket.
Andy Reid. I'd put Andy Reid probably number 2.
Andy Reid can be on there, but is Andy Reid as successful without Patrick Mahomes? Who knows? That's a conversation we can have about any coach ever. But Sean McVay, just showed the defending Super Bowl champs that have the greatest the greatest football player of all time at quarterback. We're not scared of you. There's less than a minute left in the game. We're going to give this a shot. We have, they had one timeout, right? So let's give this a shot. We have the Triple Crown receiver for the fifth time in history, receiver winning the Triple Crown. I mean,
fourth in the Super Bowl era.
So it's like, we're just going to give this a shot. We're not afraid of you. And then the other thing that crossed my mind at the end of this game is Tom Brady now should realize no one's afraid of you. Like, Tom Brady had this game-tying drive with 42 seconds left, and he sits on the bench. He's like, all right, here we go. We get to go to overtime, and maybe I'll, something will work my way, and I'll get to win this game and go back to the conference championship, yada, yada, yada. Oh, no, the Rams just won this game with less than a minute left.
And I want to say on that,
Brady anymore.
Sean McVay, I think, rightfully felt that way because he's looking at this game. He goes, take away any of those three fumbles and one time when the center snapped it, whizzed it. The dude fired it with the power of the freaking sun. It went 30 yards back. It's supposed to be a shotgun snap. Sean McVay goes, I didn't coach those fumbles. Like, he coached a great game. He beat the Buccaneers. No, like he knows
his second conference championship in his career.
He knows if Cam Akers doesn't fumble before the half, we're winning this game handily. If any of those fumbles don't happen, if Matt Gay doesn't, make that field goal a little bit too short, like we're winning right now. And so he had the confidence, and rightfully so. And Tom Brady, like I've got a lot to say about Tom Brady here. Just watching this game, I thought he played scared. I thought anytime there was pressure up the middle, he was throwing off his back foot and spiking it into the ground right in front of his receiver. And he's old. Like, you got to protect him better. Yeah, you do. Tristan Wirfs wasn't playing this game. I thought that was huge. One of the reasons I thought the Rams were going to win this game is because I thought the Buccaneers had too many injuries to overcome, which kind of turned out to be the case. Getting Leonard Fournette back was huge for them. But Brady, I mean, that touchdown, he finally stepped up and threw it. But, like, if you get pressure on Brady, like, it's different now. He throws it a little bit too early because he doesn't want to get hit. I mean, we saw him. He got hit that point where he screamed at the ref, and he doesn't like getting hit anymore. He's 44. I wouldn't want to get hit either. Mm-hmm. But that fourth down conversion that they messed up on, he threw it. I think Scotty Miller's open over here, but he throws it to Brait earlier because there's a little bit of pressure on him. So I think that was a huge thing. I think, the Rams defense was incredible. I mean, like I said, almost every touchdown they gave up was a short field because somebody fumbled in, their own territory. And I mean, I think if the Rams win the Super Bowl, I think it's because they traded for Von Miller. I think Von Miller, I haven't gone through everything. I think he could go down as the most impactful midseason trade of all time because he's been playing great the past few weeks. He played exceptional yesterday. I mean, he got a strip sack, at least one, if not more, pressures, all this. He's a veteran force on the defense. He's won Super Bowl MVP before. Like, him turning it on right now is so scary and makes that Rams defense so good because you also have Aaron Donald and you also have Jalen Ramsey. But, I mean, it just what they're able to do is insane. And, a lot of talk about the Rams mortgaging their future, it seems, trading all their picks for players. But when those players are Matthew Stafford, who did what he did, when those players are Jalen Ramsey, who is, sure he gave it the touchdown, but he's exceptional. And when those players are Von Miller, who, guess what, your second and your third round pick in this next year's draft, they're not getting a strip sack of Tom Brady right now. Like, they're not, constantly winning around the edge and forcing him to step up right now. So, I think it's incredible what they've done. I think Von Miller is going to be a huge piece of this team going down the stretch. And, he could be what puts him over the top.
Yeah, and people want to talk about them trading all those draft picks away to get those stars. I mean, you got to talk about arguably the steal of the draft class with Cooper Kupp in it because people just saw an Eastern Washington kid that, he was good. And, I think Eastern Washington was still in Division II when he was there before they made the push up to 1. But he's Cooper Kupp after this game. I mean, you know what other team has done this in the regular season, and what other quarterback could do this like the back of his hand? It's Aaron Rodgers, and he passes it to Davante Adams. Oh, he's open there somewhere. Just give it to him. Yeah, well, Cooper Kupp just did that with around the same amount of time left, and they did it against the Super Bowl champs in the playoffs. So you have to. I mean, well, I say you have to figuratively, but I have to put more respect on Cooper Kupp's name, saying he may be the best receiver in football right now. He may be number 2 behind Davante Adams. Whatever you want to figure it out, he's either 1 or 2 at this point, because he's always going to be underrated to some degree. But you cannot argue with a receiver like this after a game that we just watched. Yeah,
and when Odell Beckham, who you pick up during the season as a flyer, is your second best receiver. And guess what, guys? He wasn't making Baker Mayfield bad. Baker Mayfield was making him bad. Odell Beckham Jr. is still one of the most talented receivers in the game, and he's playing incredible too. I mean, the Rams are. I mean, obviously, as the guy who's been on the Rams since the preseason, I've talked a lot about all they need is the talent to come through. The stats and the numbers and the productivity isn't necessarily there the whole season long, but if the stars and the talent comes through, if Matt Stafford throws picks again, they're going to be bad. But Matt Stafford plays like he can, they're good. They got Cam Akers back. That's huge. He's been awesome. Like, if the talent comes through, they are as dangerous as anybody, and now they're in the Final Four, and, they're just that close. And, you brought up Aaron Rodgers, Davante Adams. Let's talk about them real quick. Real nice segue, because the Rams will not be playing the Packers in the next round. They will be playing the 49ers, because the 49ers beat the Packers. And honestly, this is the worst game of the week for sure. I remember we were talking about the games last week, and I said, this game might be the closest of them all. I said this could be a 3-point game-winning field goal. Now, it turns out every game was equally as close, and the only one that was more of a deficit was the Chiefs getting a walk-off touchdown. But I mean, it was close. The Niners came out ahead, but I still don't know why the Packers lost. Like, I know why on the field. It's because the 49ers blocked that punt, and they returned it for a touchdown. That changes the game, but the 49ers didn't score an offensive touchdown. Aaron Rodgers didn't play horribly. He completed passes. I don't know how you could say that he didn't play horribly. He didn't score. I mean, what I'm saying is, if you just looked at he was completing his passes. He wasn't throwing picks. Like, he didn't have this, obviously they did not play well, but his stat line was not the stat line you look at and go, oh, he didn't score a touchdown in that game. Like, he wasn't firing every pass into the ground and stuff. That's what I'm saying is confusing, because there's no one reason I can point to and be like, oh, right there, Aaron Rodgers, 50% completions, 2 picks. That's why they lost, or, oh, right there, Elijah Mitchell, 150 yards, that's why they lost. It doesn't really make sense, other than both teams just played like shit. So obviously the Packers special teams coordinator is likely going to get fired any day now. Yeah. Because that is one of the main reasons why. It's one of the main reasons why the Packers lost this game. If you're going to give up a blocked field goal before halftime and a blocked punt return for a touchdown, when you're trying to put the game away, and then to try to block the game-winning field goal at the end of the game, you only had 10 players out there. You're allowed to have 11. It's not – you don't get anything special if you put 10 out there. You have to put 11 out there. Don't put 12. Just put 11 out there. Yeah. But sure, but that's so the special teams coordinator is easily going to get fired, I'd imagine. Yeah, that was going to happen before. I mean, they were the worst special teams, but all year. But you talking about Aaron Rodgers right now? I've been saying this for the past 4 or 5 years. Every time Aaron Rodgers loses in the playoffs, every time that Aaron Rodgers loses a big game and doesn't make the Super Bowl. Ever since 2011, I think is when they won it. Every single time he doesn't win the big game,
someone comes up with excuses. This game should have no excuse why Aaron Rodgers played as bad as he did. He didn't score. He's the MVP of this league this year. The people want to say the Packers didn't play a good game, or but that doesn't. The Niners didn't play a good game either. Jimmy G played worse. You have to capitalize on the other team's quarterback playing terrible. Aaron Jones had the sole touchdown, A.J. Dillon had the sole touchdown for the Packers running within the 5-yard line or something like that. I think it was in the first quarter.
It was within the first quarter. 10, yeah.
I mean, the fact that you can't put up more teams against a Niners team that, don't get me wrong, I'm not calling the Niners bad, but the Niners should not be in the conference championship right now.
No, the Niners did not
championship.
The Niners did not necessarily earn this with their play. Sure they did, but it's not like they came out and played great.
The defense did. I mean, fact that
but the Packers defense
like this. I mean,
but the Packers defense played really well too.
Sure, but this is what happens with every single playoff game that Aaron Rodgers loses. Someone has to protect him, say, "Oh, well, he didn't." You got Devontae Adams involved and Aaron Jones involved, and he didn't throw an interception. The defense why can it never be Aaron Rodgers' fault? Last year, he had a terrible game against the Buccaneers. The year before, terrible game against the 49ers.
That game was definitely not. Aaron Rodgers, that game was not his fault because the Packers got destroyed. I think it's similar to this. Is he not
playing for the Packers? Is he just the guy that's there on Sunday? I mean, where is he 6 out of the 7 days of the week? He's on the team.
I mean, yeah, he's a reason they lost, but he's not the reason they lost. I don't think he's – if the punt doesn't get blocked, they win this game.
That's the best defense for Aaron Rodgers I've heard yet.
That's what I'm saying is was Tom Brady the reason the Buccaneers lost? No. He's part of the reason. It's a football game. There's a lot.
He is part of the reason. Sure. Aaron Rodgers is never even part of the reason, though. That's the thing. Nobody ever wants to blame him.
I agree that he's part of the reason. I'm saying he didn't play great, but what I'm saying is his stat line: 20 completions, 29 attempts, 225 yards. That's not awful. That's why I'm confused. Because if you told me the
performance ever,
if you told me the Packers scored 10 points in this game and lost, I would say, oh, Aaron Rodgers had a stinker, throws 2 picks, has a terrible completion percentage. So that's why I'm confused because, nothing about never was it the Packers, they're, just playing terrible. Aaron Rodgers can't figure out, it's just such a weird game because it seems I can't, other than literally that punt getting blocked and maybe that field goal, sure, whatever. I can't point to something and be this is why they definitively lost this game.
One thing I can at least point out just from looking at the stats, because that's what we're looking at for the most part is the stats. We see 10 points. We think it's Aaron Rodgers' fault, solely his fault. But he didn't throw a touchdown, nor did he throw an interception. So where is the outlying stat? Aaron Rodgers completed all of his passes to Aaron Jones and Devontae Adams except for one to Lazard. So all of his passes.
No, 2. Mercedes Lewis had one.
Okay, yeah, for a 0-yard reception.
0 yards.
All of his passes except for one. I'm not going to count.
I think Mercedes Lewis fumbled on that one, actually. Yeah, he fumbled. He lost a fumble.
So, even so, all of his passes except for one, maybe even 2 with Mercedes Lewis, went to Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones. That to me shows that you are incredibly Devontae Adams dependent. The Rams got it done with Cooper Kupp, don't get me wrong. But Stafford's going to every other receiver to try to get his team up the field because his running back is throwing the game away. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers, they didn't even rush the ball 20 times to their running backs. St. Brown was I think he's a receiver.
He is.
Yeah. They ran the ball exactly 20 times if you include the receiver on probably a jet sweep or something, but you worked through 2 receivers. That to me is an outlier saying, are the other receivers covered? Sure. Make a freaking play. The difference between Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes is when players are covered, Patrick Mahomes can do something insane. Josh Allen can do something insane. Joe Burrow, I think, could even do more on the fly than Aaron Rodgers can at this point, because I've said it time and time again since the beginning of this season leading up to now. Yeah, the Packers are good. Can they win in the playoffs? And rightfully so, they lose the game, because that's just what the Packers do ever since their Super Bowl year. They just lose in the playoffs. And now the Packers, cross your fingers that Aaron Rodgers doesn't downplay you too much during the offseason, but he's gone.
We'll see. Like, the same thing, I think, with Russell Wilson. We don't have to talk about this now, but I don't know where you go that you're better set up than right here. We'll see. But, yeah,
he made more Super Bowls than Aaron Rodgers did. So,
yeah. No, what I'm saying is, like, Aaron Rodgers can want to leave all he wants, but, the grass isn't always greener, Sure, I want out of Green Bay. Let me go to Denver. All right. You're winning the division against Patrick Mahomes and the Chargers. That's what I'm saying. If he really wants to win, Green Bay's his best option. Okay. But we'll see.
Not at this point, but let's move on, because I love talking bad about the Packers. So
yeah, and they just did not play a great game. Let's talk about the Niners a bit. Let's give the Niners some credit. We haven't really mentioned them. Jimmy G didn't play great, but didn't play bad.
Debo had another great game. That's the spot of the offense.
Debo's the guy, Kittle, and I think it was the defense really stepping up. They got 5 sacks of Rodgers. They, held them to, I think some of the reason that it was Adams and Jones doing everything is because Adams is going to get open against whoever. The other guys, not so much. But the Niners, they're here. They started out the season not great. They made it here.
Not at all.
I
think the Niners were the team that the Packers did their less than a minute up the field.
Yeah, they did.
Game-winning drive.
Week three.
Yeah.
But they're here now. I think, like I said when we talked pretenders and contenders, I said out of all these wild card teams, the Niners are the team that I would be scared of, because they've got the talent on par with some of these teams. They've got the Debos and the Kittles and the, Bosas and Warners. And it's showing, like, Deebo Samuel is doing an incredible job of just doing what he needs to do. The game sealing play to allow them, it was a 3rd and 7. They'd give a handoff to Deebo Samuel off tackle, and he gets the first down. He's a wide receiver, making on a run, 3rd and 7, gets the first down. They were able to then, get the clock down, kick the field goal. He's the type of guy who can make plays when you need him to. They're dangerous, they're talented. They've done it before with Jimmy G and a lot of the same guys. It's got not the same vibe to it, but we're starting to get closer to it. So we'll see. But, at the end of the day, congratulations to them. They made the plays they had to. They didn't squander it away, and they're playing for a shot to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Now we get to talk about Mr. Joe Burrow.
Yeah, Joe Burrow.
The number one seed. Both the number one seeds lose in spectacular fashion.
Every game happened in spectacular fashion.
Right, but just the fact that the number one overall seeds, both of them get embarrassed in their games, it's like that just goes to show about how crazy this weekend is. But
honestly, this game feels like it was a week ago. Like I am having trouble. Like I don't feel like I watched this game 48 hours ago. I feel like I watched it 4 days ago. But like I said, I was not in on Joe Burrow on the first round. Not so much as them, as I felt like there was just something with the Raiders. It was close. We know how that game played out. But then I said, Joe Burrow just might be that guy. He might be a guy who just wins when the game is on the line. And so I bought back in on the Bengals in this game, and he kind of proved that. He won when the game was on the line. He did what he had to do. Obviously, Jamar Chase is a game-breaking receiver. Talking Cooper Kupp and Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase is up there. He's in the top 5 conversation. Absolutely. I have that whole conversation right now. But let me pull. Joe Burrow played incredible. Let me get his stats here. 28 to 37.
He played great. Didn't even score.
Yeah, so I was going to say, actually, just not incredible. The yards were there, one interception. Oh, now I'm remembering it. You got sacked 9 times.
And they
That
still
is
won the friggin' game.
tied in the playoffs by anybody. I believe they showed a stat at one point. The only player to ever get sacked 8 times and win a game was Donovan McNabb. Joe Burrow then got sacked 9 times, which is the most that a team has ever gotten in the playoffs ever. And he was somehow able to win. Jamar Chase getting 109 yards. I mean, there was that one play, I forget, it was pretty early on, I think. They throw just a screen to Jamar Chase, and he just sprints just right up the field. And his game, like I said, game-breaking ability. Now the game's coming back to me. Now the game's coming back.
You're going to get to it at some point, so.
What am I going to get to?
We got to talk about the other team at some point. So.
Well, I want to talk. I think the Bengals defense won them the game, specifically the defensive line. I mean, the amount of times you were stopping Derrick Henry in the backfield, that's like a double win right there.
When they're on third and 2 or something and they give it to Derrick Henry and they're getting him in the backfield, I'm like, there's not many people that can do that on any team.
I mean, anytime you're tackling Derrick Henry for not a first down is a win because the dude can break it at any point. But when you're getting him for negative yards too, that's huge. And I thought that is really what played a huge factor in that game. Derrick Henry still played great. I mean, he came back and I don't know if he was at 100%, but he still was really good. 20 carries, 62 yards, not the best, but still played pretty well for not playing in a long time. Got the touchdown there. But yeah, I mean, the Bengals, I think during the season when we kind of got back on to them, I said it's because I think the defense is pretty good, and they're proving that because I think the defense was a huge part of this game, obviously. I think I know what you're about to say.
Ryan Tannehill just absolutely threw this game away. I mean, sure, the Bengals played a great game. I'm not going to downplay Joe Burrow at all because, like you said, these big games, Joe Burrow knows how to play. It wasn't too long ago that they beat the Chiefs in the regular season. Now they get to play them in the conference championship. But, I mean, the Titans have to realize with their roster the way that it is, you had 2 players on defense that were at some point in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation.
And those 2 aren't there. Kevin Byron made, but they aren't the best player on the defense. The best player on the defense is Jeffrey Simmons, and he played like it on Saturday.
So, I mean, they have a good defense, and you have 2 receivers, one being a rising star, the other one being probably what that rising star watched growing up in Julio Jones. I mean, Julio Jones, although he's never gotten a Super Bowl, he's made 1 Super Bowl. I mean, you could probably have some sort of conversation and put him in like top 15, top 20 receivers of all time, something like that, maybe higher. You have 2 great receivers. You have an amazing generational running back.
I don't know if Julio Jones is a great receiver anymore, but
not anymore. No, I'm just saying,
AJ Brown is
long ago that we were having Julio Jones versus, AJ Green versus Antonio Brown conversation sort of deal. So he is a veteran receiver that can get it done. You have this great offense, this great defense. They finally got screwed over with their decision at quarterback. Ryan Tannehill isn't a terrible quarterback, but he's essentially what lost them this game. I know we were talking about it before, on Saturday after this game, saying, what the hell is Ryan Tannehill doing throwing that ball? It's not a great decision to throw it there. It's not like it was, on a flat, some corner took it all the way, but he threw a contested pass that got tipped up in the air, and the Bengals linebacker came down with the interception. When you're trying to bring your team up to field goal range, it's a tied game, you cannot be forcing throws like that. And I'm surprised that Mike Vrabel couldn't drill this into Tannehill's head. And you can't really use Derrick Henry in a late game situation to try to get up the field and not run the clock down because he's just such a power runner. He's not too much of a threat in the receiving game. But Tannehill threw this game away. And that's what the Titans have to realize. It's like you have this great team, this great roster, but they kind of got bit with the Kirk Cousins syndrome, where it's Vikings have a great roster. We'll see what the coaching is going to look like, but Kirk Cousins won't win a Super Bowl. He might win a playoff game. Tannehill has won playoff games. You cannot go all the way with the person at quarterback. Does that mean that they're going to get rid of Tannehill? I don't think so. I mean, it doesn't seem like it was that detrimental of a thing to just pull the trigger on getting rid of him, but you have to take that into account. I mean, teams with amazing running backs and very mediocre quarterbacks don't particularly do very well when it comes to the playoffs. So
the
you have to understand that their ceiling was met on Saturday.
I mean, the Titans are the exception there because what they've done is because they can lean usually on Derrick Henry. And I agree. Like you can't get into we need a game-winning, less than a minute drive here with Ryan Tannehill to win the game. And the Titans aren't set up that way. They're set up to let's dominate this game with Derrick Henry and let's not be in that position. And that's, their goal. And they didn't get it there. I think, don't get rid of Tannehill until you have something for sure better, because it could get a lot worse. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it wasn't the worst thing ever. It was a questionable decision met by a really good defensive play, and that sucks. But yeah, the better quarterbacks don't make that decision. But yeah, I mean, the Titans, this was a weird year. I think if Derrick Henry's healthy all year, this season and these playoffs probably play out a little differently.
He would have been the MVP. Yeah, I mean, so
for sure. And I don't think that they had everything they could get from Henry. I don't think he was fully ready, because these are the games he gets 200 yards. But it is what it is. The Bengals, they did what they had to do. Joe Burrow, he did what he had to do. Like I said, once I looked at the stats, not great from a touchdown perspective, good from a yardage perspective, but you're getting the job done, and the dude's a winner. Still hasn't lost a playoff game at this point. So
that's true. Very true.
Out there. Before we make our picks for the next games, I want to do a quick little thing. We will go quick, where we rank the potential Super Bowl matchups just by how interesting we think they would be. There's 4 possible matchups. Go from 1 to 4. Which do we think this? Now this could be on a personal level. I kind of view it as which will draw the most attention for the NFL, type of thing. And I know, looking at our list, we agree on the top that it is Chiefs, Rams, the most notable potential Super Bowl matchup. I certainly agree with that. Interesting thing there, because I believe the Super Bowl is in SoFi. It is LA Stadium.
Back-to-back home games for the Super Bowl.
Back-to-back home games for Super Bowl teams, which had never happened before, but also with both teams not
last year.
Yeah, with both teams not technically being the home team. The Buccaneers were technically the away team last year, and the Rams, in this case, would be the away team based on record there. But yeah, I mean,
I think they could live with it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's technicality. They would have to wear the away jerseys, and I don't know. I think they get the away locker rooms. I'm not sure, but there it's probably not a big deal because you got both teams. But a few years ago, you have that incredible game. Obviously, it's a bit different with everything going on, but this is the one you want. The Rams, just the star power of this game would be enough to put it over the top with Mahomes, Hill, Kelsey, Chris Jones. Then you've got Stafford, Cup, Beckham, Donald, Ramsey. I mean, Von Miller. It would certainly be enough to make this the most interesting matchup.
It's the most interesting matchup, not only for the star power, but really just the momentum of both the teams going in. They won incredible games on both of which were yesterday. Mm-hmm. Both these teams are not afraid of anybody that they play. Obviously, the Chiefs aren't. They're 2 years removed from 1 year removed from a Super Bowl, and were in the Super Bowl last year anyway. So, I mean, the Chiefs know where they are. They've been here before. They'll take on anybody, but this Rams team, they're not afraid of anybody is the thing. I mean, I think it's going to come down to really the quarterback play between those two teams if they were to face off against each other because, obviously Patrick Mahomes is the better quarterback than Matt Stafford, but we've been getting playoff Matt Stafford these past 2 weeks. And he's looking fantastic. I mean, he's got the best receiver in the league this season on his team, but I mean, Patrick Mahomes is one of the greatest tight ends of all time on his team and the fastest player in the league at wide receivers. So, potato. So, this matchup is definitely the most interesting. We're kind of all over the place with 2 through 4, though. So
well, let me explain myself first. Sure. The Chiefs are the NFL juggernaut. Whatever matchups is going to be 1 and 2 for them. Like Patrick Mahomes is the biggest superstar in the league right now, and I think that carries a lot. Also, just the fact this would be a rematch of his first Super Bowl, Super Bowl from 2 years ago. Now, I think that would carry a lot with getting that rematch. Shanahan getting another chance. I'm talking Chiefs 49ers here as my second one. So I think the quick rematch there would be kind of the big thing. And still, 49ers, they're close there in LA. You get the things we didn't get the year prior. Alex Smith played for both teams. Joe Montana played for both teams. The connectedness of these franchises, I think, would be something very interesting.
Yeah, I have that at number 3, just purely based off of the rematch. Really supporting that one. But at number 2, I have Bengals and Rams because once again, we have to put respect in the Bengals' name. They keep getting downplayed every single game they've played in this past month. I mean, they were downplayed against the Chiefs. They were downplayed against the Titans last week. I mean, you even were downplaying them against the Raiders just because, this Bengals team should not be here on paper. You have a second-year quarterback and a rookie wide receiver and a running back who's never played in the playoffs outside of Pro Bowls. I mean, this offense shouldn't be here. The defense more so shouldn't be here. I mean, this team knows how to compete. They were projected. Their win total over under for the season this year was 6.5. And I took the under on that. I'm gonna be honest. I did not see the Bengals putting it all together like this. So, yeah, you're maybe convincing me here to switch my order around a bit. And move my Bengals game up. They may shock the world this weekend. I don't know, but
why?
We can't be surprised if they do.
Why Bengals Rams too? Because I've got Bengals Niners and then Bengals Rams as my next 2. You've got Bengals Rams ahead of even Chiefs Niners. So why Bengals Rams?
So
because I think you're overlooking something
between
here.
The 2 NFC teams. Who do we want to see in the Super Bowl more? Obviously the Rams, right? This Rams team is loaded. They've had an incredible season. We've been projecting them to be, in the Super Bowl or winning the Super Bowl since the beginning of the year. We want to see this Rams team in the Super Bowl. So that in and of itself gets 1 and 2. I said it before, this Niners team should not be here. They are based off of a little bit of luck, great defensive play, good coaching, Jimmy G barely knowing, how to get it done with Deebo Samuel, obviously playing great. This Niners team shouldn't be here, though. It doesn't matter which way you look at it. Even Niners fans, I think, should agree. It's kind of a miracle that they're here. They beat arguably the best team in the league this season off of their special teams unit. So that's why I have the Niners taking up the 3 and the 4 spot. But if you have the least interesting AFC team, who's the most interesting AFC team to put in the Super Bowl? Obviously Chiefs, because we love seeing Patrick Mahomes win. And then 49ers Bengals would just be such a unique Super Bowl. Just ratings wise.
Would it be unique? Would it be unique?
It'd be unique in a sense that it's not going to bring in nearly as big of a crowd as like last year's Super Bowl did, where you have Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. So,
I will say if the Niners beat the Rams, this week, obviously they'll deserve to be, and that's the thing about the playoffs. Yeah, you fluke through here and there, but if they play great this week, we'll forget all the other stuff. But the reason why I have Bengals Niners there is I think, if the story becomes, look at the Bengals, they already won their first playoff game since 91 or whatever. They did this and they did that. You know what would be funny is if they make it. Do you know the last time they were in the Super Bowl?
The Bengals?
Yeah.
I think it was when it was in the single digits.
No, 1989.
Really?
The 1989 season. So 1990, they made it to the Super Bowl. The next year, they won one playoff game and lost. So this is the last time they were really good. They made it to the Super Bowl. Do you know who they played in that Super Bowl?
In what, 89 you said?
The 89 season, so it'd be in 1990.
So it's got to be 49ers then. It's got to be the Steve Young
Super
Niners.
Bowl 23. It was the 49ers. So I think it would be interesting if the Bengals make it back to the Super Bowl and they play the team that they last played in the Super Bowl. I think that'd be really interesting. There would be a lot of history between these two teams and something very, interesting to play through. That game was 20-16 for the Niners. So I think that's it would give, NFL and all the, a lot of, stuff to go through leading up to that game. And I think that'd be really interesting. So that's why I give it the edge over Bengals Rams, is because there's not really the history there. And I think that history because if the Bengals make it to the Super Bowl, the story becomes, oh my God, the Bengals, the franchise that was, cursed and hadn't won a playoff game in 20 years, they're not now in the Super Bowl and they're playing the same team as the last time they were there. While, in that same span, the 49ers had all that success they've had. I think it'd be a really cool dichotomy. But now let's stop talking hypotheticals and start talking a little less hypotheticals and actually pick the games. The first game, which will be at noon Sunday, Bengals at Chiefs. The Chiefs are a 7-point favorite for that game. Ryan, where are you leaning on this?
I'm trying to ride the Bengals train as much as I can here. A 7.5-point spread between these two teams. It's a little disrespectful, but you're talking about the Chiefs here that have the potential to, blow out pretty much anybody in the league.
I had the same kind of initial reaction going 7. Like 7, really? That seems surprising. But then, you know what I remembered?
It's an Arrowhead. So
and then I remembered the Bengals offensive line sucks.
Yeah.
And during that Bengals Titans game, I just remember thinking, like, it's good that you got this, but you don't beat the Bills or the Chiefs with that bad of a weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Like, even though the Titans might have a better defense per se, like the Bills and the Chiefs are not going to let you get away with that. I think, like, it's the reason that the Bengals weren't supposed to make it this far is, the reason they're not on that level is because they still have that weakness. And I think, like, you can win one game. I mean, it's barely ever happened with that, but you don't get to the Super Bowl if you get sacked 8 or 9 times again, or even just pressured a bunch. I think that's going to be a huge thing in that game. While I believe in Joe Burrow and I think he's incredible, I think Jamar Chase is incredible. This is Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs we're talking about. They are the blueprint. They are what the Bengals hope they could be. They are what Joe Burrow hopes he could be. And at the end of the day, the Chiefs are the better team.
Sure. The Bengals going up against any team in the AFC, I think they would prefer facing anybody else other than the Chiefs is the thing. I mean, they would have loved to play the Titans in this game because they got the upper hand on them last week.
I think the Bills, I think it would be very similar. Maybe it'd be 6.5 or 6, but same idea. I think the Chiefs and the Bills are just a tier above.
Yeah, and the Bengals, it's been amazing that they've gotten this far to begin with. I mean, the thing about this game that I have to keep telling myself is that I'm going to be happy with whoever wins this, because these are two teams that I think deserve to be here, outside the other game. But these are two teams that I think deserve to be here. Obviously, the Chiefs, they're practically the modern day Patriots at this point, with just how much they win and the quarterback they have there.
Patriots are the modern day Patriots, but they're the new Patriots.
You have a team like this that is just bound to win for the next decade. That is just, they've reached the absolute peak of team organizations, or you know what I mean? So roster structure, this is the team to beat for the next 5 to 10 years. The Bengals, that glaring weakness at offensive line, and Chris Jones is still, being a force to be reckoned with.
Melvin Ingram.
And Melvin Ingram is also a fantastic midseason trade.
Really under the radar, but Frank Clark's there. Like that. My thing is, like, do the Titans? Yeah, Harold Landry's probably a better edge rusher and all this stuff, but the Chiefs aren't going to let you get away with just not being able to block on the offensive line. Like, it's just not going to happen. And when you play the Chiefs, you're going to have to score a lot. You're going to have to keep up. Like, you don't beat the Chiefs by scoring 19 points, which they could do against the Titans. You can't do that this time.
Unless you're the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense from last year to hold them to 9 points in the Super Bowl. I don't think there's ever been another time that the Chiefs were held to single digits, at least in the Patrick Mahomes era. No. That was the one game that the Chiefs played where they didn't score a touchdown on offense. It's the only time. And guess what?
They addressed the offensive line. So even if you were that team last year, that's not their issue anymore. The only thing I think incredible offensive line.
The only thing I think could maybe work in the Bengals' favor is, I don't know when Tyrann Mathieu is supposed to come back, facing his concussion protocol from the last game. They may be very cautious with him. It may have just been a slight bump to the head from his teammate during the game yesterday. But if they have that weakness in the secondary, Ja'Marr Chase could turn some heads. But
he's better than Gabriel Davis.
Survive a shootout with the Chiefs with just Ja'Marr Chase. If you're going to survive a shootout with the Chiefs, you're going to be the Buffalo Bills. So the Chiefs win this game in Arrowhead too. He hasn't lost to anybody but Brady, and I don't think
Brady's out of the playoffs.
As much as Burrow plays amazing in big games, I think I will finally downplay the Bengals. He just does not have what it takes to take out Patrick Mahomes on the road in the AFC title game that they've been here for 4 straight years.
I mean, look at what Josh Allen did. Look at what Josh Allen did, which was an otherworldly effort, and that wasn't enough. Now, if Joe Burrow can do that, props to him. It's going to be a close game. I just don't think the infrastructure is there to support him and his ability to do that, and I don't think that he necessarily has that yet. I think, we're a year or two away from the Bengals being scary good, but we're not there yet. So kudos to them. Great season. You made it this far. But so are you taking Chiefs to cover?
I'll take Chiefs to cover.
Points. At this point,
I was taken back by it, but this is the Chiefs.
It's like a blank check with me with the Chiefs. Whatever points you tell me they're getting, I'm picking them in the points. I'm not gonna pick anybody to keep it close because as much as I'm picking Chiefs to win, I'm picking Chiefs to cover because it is what it is. This game has blowout potential. I'm not calling for that necessarily, but I think we've seen it in games. I remember that Texans game. Even the Texans came out screaming ahead. Chiefs ended up putting it away. Other than the Bills and obviously the Patriots when they had Brady and the Browns even last year. Like it's been tough to keep these Chiefs games close in the playoffs because they are just a different animal when it's on the line there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Chiefs will win this game. They'll go back to the Super Bowl, and you won't be facing Tom Brady, but you'll be facing one of these two teams.
Mm-hmm. One team that he's familiar with in this setting, but Niners Rams looking at close to 4:00 kickoff. The Rams are now down to 3-point favorites. It's 3.5 when I looked last night. They're 3-point favorite over the Niners. Rams are at home, although the Niners, when they played in Week 18, Niners won. The Niners make that their home. The Niners fans will travel to LA. There will probably be more Niners fans than Rams fans at that game.
I don't know.
No, the Rams are already worrying about that and trying to cap tickets. Like the Rams just don't have this like rabid fan base yet. You don't really get that.
Which is
LA.
so funny to me because ever since the Rams moved out of LA to St. Louis for all those years, they were like, no, they should be in LA. We need our football team back. And then they came back.
Yeah.
And now their fan base is like, I mean, that's hilarious to me.
They're like, they're like, look, we are supporting them. You want to see what no support looks like? Look at the Chargers. The Rams don't have to do a silent count in their own building. Yeah. Well, it's like, look, when we don't support a team, it's the Chargers. Like, look, we don't go to their games at all. At least we kind of go to the Rams games. But just the proximity of those teams, obviously, it's, much easier for Niners fans to travel. But what are you feeling on this game?
Right now, we're getting probably the best version of Matt Stafford we've seen possibly ever. I mean, because he's winning playoff games now. It's not like he was just making it just to be there with Detroit. So you got Matt Stafford playing the best football he's played with a triple count receiver catching anything he throws at him with 42 seconds left in the game. You got Odell Beckham, who has won playoff games. Being a big part of those wins is debatable.
No, he's won two playoff games with the Rams.
Yeah, so he won a game with the Browns, right?
He wasn't playing. He was out for the season. Remember, this was his first playoff wins this year.
So Odell Beckham
on the sideline,
it was their second, arguably third best receiver. Maybe if Robert Woods is in that conversation. I mean, Higbee, I think, is very incapable. That's just from a fantasy standpoint. This Rams defense against the Niners defense, I mean, this is likely going to be I don't think this is going to be a gritty battle because of the defenses, because let's face it, both the defenses have great pass rushes, the Rams have a great secondary, Niners have a great linebacker unit. They're some of the best defenses in the league. That being said, what quarterback is better under pressure, Matt Stafford or Jimmy Garoppolo? Jimmy Garoppolo has made a Super Bowl before. I mean, has he made it? Has he been led to a Super Bowl? It's up for debate, obviously. But these teams are very, very similar in terms of personnel, in terms of best. I mean, we
saw it in Week 18. They played in Week 18, a game that both teams were still trying because the Rams needed it. Well, could have needed
it to survive.
The Niners needed it to get in. The Rams possibly needed it to win the division. They ended up not needing it, but at the time, you don't know. And the Niners won 27-24 in overtime. So we've seen this game before. But the Rams, I feel like, have unlocked something since then. They were playing weird at the end of the year. They're playing good now. I will say, like, I'm picking – the Rams are my pick to win this game. But if I was, betting on the game and betting on spread, I would pick the Niners and the points just because I view this game as very close. And with the 3 or 3.5 points, there's probably 65% of the outcomes are either the Niners winning or the Rams winning by 3 points or less, just because of how close these games have been, not just between these two teams, but all the games. So I just think that covers more of the outcomes, because if you tell me the Niners win this game, I'd be like I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be more shocked if the Bengals win. I'd be like, yeah, I could see it. It happened a few weeks ago. I see ways for the Rams to lose the game and the Niners to win. But I still think the Rams are going to. But if I'm covering my bases from what's most likely to happen, I would take the points. But I'm going with Rams here. Come on, my preseason pick. I have to go with Rams.
Right. I would have been shocked if you picked the Niners, to be honest, because although I think the Niners should not be in this position, they have definitely earned their spot here.
Oh, for sure.
So, as much as I'm surprised to see them here, they probably have one of the best matchups you could have in this situation, outside of maybe playing I'm trying to think of the other wild card NFC teams. It feels like it's been so long ago now.
Philly and Arizona.
Yeah, they would have loved to play Philly and Arizona,
and Dallas, who they beat.
The thing that obviously is sticking out to everybody here is that this is a division matchup. They've played each other however many times over the years, however many times 2 in the regular season. So
the Rams have not beat the Niners this year.
That's true because they split games with Arizona, but I thought San Fran didn't split with LA or no?
No, remember
49ers
the
Deebo Samuel show, and then yeah, I remember.
I want to see. The Rams. McVay hasn't really beat Kyle Shanahan. I think he's beat him once. He's beat him 3 times. But he hasn't beat the Niners since 2018.
So, I mean, but like I said before, Sean McVay may be the second best coach in this league now based off of the game yesterday. So I think he has all the momentum in the world to compete with the Niners, but then again, Kyle Shanahan has, he's definitely puffing his chest out a little bit. This will be a battle of head coaches. It's not going to be a battle of the defense. It's not even necessarily a battle of the quarterbacks. Every play call is going to matter. Every down will matter. Every decision will matter. I'm still picking the Rams to win. I'll pick the Rams to cover, actually, because I don't think this will be as close. But then again, we didn't think we were going to get this amazing divisional round. So I think we'll be looking at a Rams-Chiefs Super Bowl, and we'll see where it goes from there.
The only reason I picked 49ers coverage is just because I think it's close enough to go either way and still close enough. I mean, Rams could win by a field goal. I would not be shocked at all. But there's a few reasons why I think Rams are going to win. First being, it's really hard to beat a team 3 times in 1 year, and it's really even harder to do that when you're probably not the better team. 2, Matthew Stafford is taking care of the ball now. I think that is huge. 3 is just – I don't know. Yeah. 3 is like Von Miller. I think Von Miller is going to be – I remember texting my friend who's a Rams fan yesterday early in the game, and I said Von Miller might be the reason that the Rams win the Super Bowl this year. I think he's that impactful at what he does and just the experience. A lot of the Rams have been there before, haven't won it. Von Miller's won it before and had an incredible performance in the Super Bowl. He knows what he's doing. He gives that defense yet another leader. And I just think, the talent's going to win out. The Rams are going to win out, but I would not be surprised at all if this game is super close. I think, it happens when teams that know each other this well play, but Sean McVay is going to need to exercise his Kyle Shanahan and San Francisco Demons in this game. He got very close in that Week 18 game. If you don't remember, it was similar to the game yesterday. The Rams were up, and they had it, and they kind of pissed it away and let the Niners come back and get it. The Rams now,
the head coach for the Niners, he knows how to throw away. He knows how to throw away games too.
Sure, but I mean, you want to talk about the Niners not deserving to be here. The Rams barely deserve to be there because they tried their hardest to lose that game yesterday. They're very close to not making it. So neither of these teams are, coming off beat downs or anything. But I would go with the Rams. My preseason pick, I don't know. I don't know if I've gotten one of these right in a really long time. I was the guy who always believed in the Saints every year, and god damn did they get close, and I felt really good a lot of times. But the Rams, I believed in them since the preseason. Don't let me down. And good to see Stafford.
Nearly as entertaining as his last weekend. I hope both games be iconic.
Yeah, there's a lot to live up to because that weekend, yesterday was just insane action. But we will be with you next week to talk about the conference championship games and talk a little Super Bowl maybe. We'll have 2 weeks until then, so we might put that off for the next week. We'll see, but we will certainly be here with you to talk about everything that goes down. Remember, you can follow Dash Sports on socials, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, as well as subscribe to the Dash Sports YouTube channel to check out everything else we've got going on and to keep up with zone coverage as we take you through there's 3 more football games left. I keep counting them down and getting sadder and sadder because I'm not going to include the Pro Bowl in that. So 3 more games left in the NFL season. We will be with you through all of it.